Does the Vancouver Sun have something against mothers, or just human rights? Maybe both. It'd be easy to conclude yes after a January 14th editorial by Shelley Freilich of the Vancouver Sun ridiculed a mother whom was asked to leave a Vancouver store because of breastfeeding her baby. Here's the situation. The mother goes shopping with her 3 young children in tow. After a while, the baby kicks up some sort of fuss, and flustered, the mom looks for a private corner of the store. No one is around, so she tucks in and starts nursing. Then, the owner comes up and asks her to stop because she is offending the customers, whom apparently don't understand the etiquette of looking the other way if they find personally disturbing the sight of a legally protected activity. Understandably, the woman is embarrassed and upset. Then, the Vancouver Sun runs their editorial harshly critical of the mother for her decision to breastfeed in public. The editorial goes as far as to equate nursing the baby in public with wearing a bikini to a funeral, or saying the F word in front of grandma, or wearing a hat at the dinner table, or walking naked through a children's playground. Ouch. Let's get something straight here. Parenting can be wonderful, but for most of us it is also fraught with vulnerability and judgment, regardless of whether we breastfeed. There are so many moments where as a mother or a father, you're just doing your best, attempting to keep the kid from tearing into the candy while getting through the checkout line at the grocery store, trying to not look like an abusive parent when your toddler decides to stage a sit-in while crossing a busy intersection, and subduing a screaming baby while you hurriedly eat your lunch at the little cafe on the way home. And while we're doing all this, we're also thinking, did I feed my child enough today? Is that baby safe at daycare? Will the comment I just made to my tween cost me in therapy one day? Congratulations, Vancouver Sun. You've made the already hard job of parenting that much harder. It wasn't just the mother's feelings that were violated. Breastfeeding is a human right in BC, says Robin Derling, Communications Officer for BC Human Rights Coalition. Vicki Bell, Registrar at the Human Rights Tribunal, confirmed that women who feel that they have been harassed or inappropriately denied reasonable accommodation to breastfeed their child in public, including stores, can file a complaint under the sex discrimination part of the Human Rights Code. The Human Rights Code is pretty impenetrable reading for most of us. Luckily, the Attorney General spells out how the Human Rights Code applies to the average person. Under the title, Human Rights in British Columbia, Sexual Discrimination and Harassment, it says, in BC, it is illegal to discriminate against or harass a person because of their sex. That includes pregnancy, breastfeeding, and sexual harassment. It goes on to talk about where it is illegal. It protects people from discrimination in public situations, which include schools, workplaces, universities, hospitals, medical clinics, stores, restaurants, provincial and local government offices, and transit services. There is no question that a store is a public space when it comes to human rights. It is explicitly stated. The courts won't come into your home and tell your husband he has to wash the dishes because you're nursing the baby. But the courts do get involved in commercial or public relationships. Derling says you can test the law by asking yourself, would it be all right to exclude all black people or all women at this place or in this situation? Would the store owner rather have a child screaming and crying than someone would probably complain the mother was neglecting the child, says Christine Ash from the BC Ministry of Children and Family Development. The store has to try and accommodate the nursing mother. A reasonable accommodation, says Derling. In other words, the store doesn't have to build in a special nursing mother's room, but they also can't insist that she hide away in the bathroom. Interestingly, the Attorney General's Human Rights in British Columbia Sexual Discrimination and Harassment that describes what kind of discrimination is illegal also says the law protects people against discrimination in printed publications. Have you read the Human Rights Act, Vancouver Sun? Breastfeeding is an important human right, the Health Ministry of BC reminded me again when I called there. It is also a health issue and an issue of what kind of society we want to create. Breastfeeding is hard work. Michelle Stewart, the Communications Director at the Ministry of Health Services, states that the ministry is strongly favorable of breastfeeding and reiterates the importance on the health of mothers and babies. Health Canada has littered their website with information on the importance of breastfeeding. They strongly promote exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of a baby's life, with continued breastfeeding up to 2 years and beyond. Breastfeeding has been demonstrated to do everything from decrease incidence of respiratory disease to increasing IQ in breastfed children. It also contributes to a woman's health by offering protection against multiple forms of cancer. For these reasons and more, breastfeeding saves money. Studies suggest that the healthcare savings for countries like the US and Australia, and presumably Canada, of increased breastfeeding would be in the billions. Moms who do breastfeed should be commended, and they are, by the World Health Organization, Health Canada, and the BC Ministry of Health. Indeed, breastfeeding is considered so important that it is considered a human right in BC, in Canada as a whole, and by the World Health Organization of the United Nations. It is not the same at all as someone deciding to run naked through a playground, says Durling. We value children, he says, and we place a high value on protecting pregnant women, and we put a high value on mothers. The Supreme Court has recognized breastfeeding as a fundamental right. Vancouver Sun, if you haven't been listening, listen now. He continues, running naked through a playground is not a fundamental right. Neither is wearing your bathing suit and running through a courtroom. Protecting mothers and their essential need to feed their children is. Other women, by such mundane acts as taking a seat on a bus or in the whites-only section of a theater or applying to work as a firefighter, have changed our idea of what is socially appropriate and helped us to understand that certain rights should be unalienable to all humans. No doubt many of them received a public shaming rather than a public thank you for their efforts as well. Shame on you, Vancouver Sun, for condemning a woman doing such important work. It's kind of like telling your old grandmother that her hat is ugly after she tells you she was denied a seat at the lunch counter because of her color, was fired from her job because of her age, and was evicted from her apartment because of her sex. Reporting for the Vancouver Observer, this is Manda Alfox Gillespie, the Green Mama.